Once again, the question was, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams in K through 12? You have 15 seconds to clarify.
So the Republican and Democratic candidates for Virginia governor had a debate last night, and let me tell you, it did not go well for the Democrat in question. Now, her name is Abigail Spanberger, and she was questioned directly about whether or not she continues to endorse Jay Jones. Jay Jones is also a Democrat. He is running to be Attorney General of Virginia, and he sent a series of really heinous text messages to a Republican colleague back in 2022. He also reportedly called this Republican colleague and told her over the phone that he hoped that this Republican's children or child would die in their mother's arms, so that this Republican could understand the need to, enact gun control policies. That was kind of the gist of it. And the text messages are awful too. He hasn't denied any of this. He's issued at least 2 apologies that I've seen. He has not dropped out of the race. And Abigail Spanberger, who again wants to be the governor of Virginia, has not called for him to drop out. And she hasn't even said something like, I will not support Jay Jones as we move forward, despite the fact that this guy, Jay Jones, was in text messages fantasizing about murdering a Republican. And he said something like, people don't understand, people don't move on policy until it personally affects them. So that is the context. And now I want you to listen to how Abigail Spanberger is responding to this situation.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. I didn't hear an answer there on the endorsement issue, so I want to just make sure. Will you continue to endorse Jay Jones to be the next Attorney General of Virginia? And were you aware of these text messages before they released? You have 30 seconds.
In fact, it appears that it was those who released the text messages and held them for years. So the public was unaware who had knowledge of these text messages for many years.
What did you do about it?
I learned of these text messages the day that they came out, and I denounced them as soon as I learned of them.
She denounces murder.
And importantly, at this point, as we move forward, the voters now have this information that was withheld for them.
You're running to
presumably for
Ms.
political
Earle-Sears,
reasons. But the voters now have the information, and it is up to voters to make an individual choice based on this information.
So Spanberger is trying to make this about the ethics of withholding text messages, instead about the ethics of saying, if I were in a room with Hitler, Pol Pot, and this Republican guy, Gilbert, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. So that's insane. But the entire story is really even more insane than that, because the story as reported by National Review is that Jay Jones sent these text messages to Republican Kerry Coyner by accident, right? And then he realized who he had sent these vicious, violent messages to, and he doubled down. And when Kerry Coyner said, I'm not comfortable when you talk about wanting to hurt people that you don't like, he called her and he tripled down, and he said that he wished that, reportedly, Gilbert's child would die in his mother's arms. So I want to characterize Jay Jones as mentally unhinged, as unwell, but I don't even know if that's fair, because that's kind of in keeping with the undertone of a lot of leftist rhetoric. We all saw how they reacted when Charlie Kirk died. Granted, people like AOC or Bernie Sanders have better political sense than to come out and endorse those things, and they probably condemned that. But I think the last few weeks have been very revealing, because as we've moved further away from, Charlie's death, you've seen people like Ilhan Omar say, well, no one should be murdered for what they believed in, but Charlie Kirk was such a heinous, extreme guy that, you can it's definitely disturbing. Anyway, I will let the video continue, but I'm going to warn you that, like, the second half of this is just as much of a word salad as the first half.
You yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
We are all running our individual races. I believe my opponent has said that about her lieutenant governor nominee.
Ms. Earle-Sears.
And it's up to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. We just want to clarify, what you're saying is that as of now, you still endorse Jay Jones as Attorney General.
I'm saying as of now, it's up to every voter to make their own individual decision. I am running for governor. I am accountable for the words that I say, for the acts that I take, for the policies that I have put out.
Thank you.
I am responsible for the policies I put out and the work I will endeavor to do tirelessly for the people of Virginia.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger, for absolutely nothing. Like, we all know that, yeah, you're responsible for what you say. And the fact that Spanberger refuses to ask Jay Jones to drop out, the fact that, local Democrats have actually rallied behind this guy and said, he's learned from his mistakes, he's taken responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. The only way to interpret that is that they are, they have a moral hierarchy in which being a Democrat is more important than whether or not you think that children should die in their mother's arms so that their fathers can support gun control. Like, that's the only conclusion. Okay, so that was the most important moment from the debate, most revealing in my opinion, but there is another one that's getting some traction because Abigail Spanberger, again, could not provide a coherent answer on whether or not she is going to endorse boys changing in girls' locker rooms and participating in girls' sports. So let's look at that one.
Ms. Spanberger, once again, the question was, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams in K through 12? You have 15 seconds to clarify.
In cases across Virginia, I think it's incumbent upon parents and educators and administrators in each local community to make decisions locally.
Would you rescind the Youngkin administration policy requiring boys and girls to use bathrooms aligning with their biological sex? You have 30 seconds.
My priority would be to ensure that local communities, importantly parents and teachers and educators, are able to work together to meet the unique needs of each school and each community.
But Ms. Spanberger, the question was, would you rescind the Youngkin administration policy requiring boys and girls to use bathrooms aligning with their biological sex? You have 15 seconds to clarify that question.
Yes, and my answer is that in each local community, decisions should be made between parents and educators and teachers in each community. It shouldn't be dictated by politicians.
Notice that at the end she has 15 seconds to clarify. 15 seconds is not a tremendously long period of time. And she starts her answer by saying, and my answer is, and then she does her canned response again. I mean, Democrats just don't have a good answer to this question because for years they had sided with the most extreme sort of section of their party, right? They had said, men are women, women are men. We are totally gung-ho on trans rights and men, beating up women in wrestling matches or whatever, boxing. Women can be football players. I mean, granted, in the sports issue, like, it's pretty one-sided, right? It's men absolutely demolishing women in sports. And the tide has shifted. The trans hysteria has quieted, and I hope that it was just this, weird social trend that has come and gone. But I think the 2024 election was kind of a wake-up call for Democrats. They realized that maybe they shouldn't be quite so extreme on this issue, that this in particular voters, even a lot of Democrats, like, really hate, even if they're supportive of men cutting off their body parts and women doing the same. They don't think that men should compete against women because it renders the entire idea of women's sports like null. And so Spanberger retreats to this thing of saying like, well, let's just let parents and schools figure it out, and like small government, we're not going to get involved. When she's not going to take that stance on any other pet issue that's important to her, right? Like, I doubt that she's going to say, well, when it comes to abortion or gun control, like, our priority is just making sure that, everybody gets to kind of figure those things out for themselves. Like, it's so obvious what they're doing here, and I think it's transparently so. I don't know that this is convincing to anybody. And as I watch these clips, I don't even know that Winsome Earle-Sears, who's her Republican opponent, needs to interrupt. Like, Abigail's answers are so bad that I think that it might have been better to just let her kind of blather on for the full 15 or 30 seconds that she has to answer these questions. But in any case, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. Abigail Spanberger could very well be the next governor of Virginia. Jay Jones could still be the next Attorney General of Virginia. And that is a scary thought. So let me know what you thought of this debate in the comment section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.